Hi, this is Bee from Sorcery Soap and Hocus Pocus Crafts. I wanted to show you what I'm up to. These are some of the new prints I have. And then over here, those are some. And this guy. Oops, let's see. There. That guy. And those. This one right, oops there. That one I took last year, I think. This one was a gift. Hi. So, yeah, I haven't made any videos in a while. I just adhere to the idea that if I don't have anything particularly positive to say, that I should probably keep my mouth shut. So that's what I've been up to, keeping my mouth shut and my head down and doing some work and whatnot. And I just, oh, can you see right up there? That one right there? That's one of my new favorite ones. So one of the things I have lots to tell you today, and I'm just going to settle in so that we can have a little chat. So if you didn't know, this is Bee from Sorcery Soap and now Hocus Pocus Crafts. And thank you for watching. And all these prints I have up, well, most of them that you saw, I have up on the website now. And the reason I did that is because if you notice, maybe I'll put the picture in, but in my living room in the center picture, that one was, that was such an expensive picture. It was very expensive. And what I realized was I like to change my art around more than I want to commit hundreds of dollars to a picture. And I used to do that, and I had giclée, and I had to shut the door because the furnace was on and it was very loud. So I'll get comfortable here. So I had giclée and I had custom frames and very particular and picking out all the mats and the frames and all that kind of stuff. And what I realized is then I was stuck with that, and it was a very expensive and hard lesson. And I decided that's not what I want to do moving forward. And so every single one of the frames that you see has been thrifted, and I pay maybe $1 or $2. I think I paid $5 for the most expensive one. And I think that's so much more fun because then I can just change them out and then give them away or sell them when I'm, done with them or whatever. And then I can get the prints done, and the prints aren't very expensive at all. So I get something delightful to inspire me, and I can change it around. So, when I'm done with that, like I have some fairies up on this wall, and then I have horses, and, because our tastes change all the time. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is how people change, and huge topic and quite general. But you ever notice how some people, I'm not around it anymore, but I saw this Instagram reel where this guy was talking about how people change when they drink. And some people change really darkly. But I was thinking about that this morning, and one of the things I realized is people change too, not from outside influences in that degree, but they change and are influenced by life and just evolve. Obviously, I'm not the same person I was when I was 10. I hope not entirely. I hope I've learned a bit since then. But, everything changes. We're always in flux. We're always striving to make order out of chaos. And I'm not unaware of the strife that is going on now. And so what I wanted to do, what I want to do, is let you know that other people are aware of that too. And I believe, it is my belief, that everybody's putting their head down and doing the best they can with what they have. And I hope that's true. So what I've learned from my past, because I reflect often and regularly, is that I've 100% succeeded by surviving every single thing that I've encountered. Maybe not unscathed, but I've 100% lived through it. And if I could do anything different, I would like to have a bit more dignity going through the hard times. And I know that's very difficult, and it's humongous, and none of us picked this entirely. I don't know how I think about that, but so when I first started this, you know me through soap now, handmade soap. And when I first started this, I was very excited, and I had no idea, and I, stumbled on a bunch of things, and I wanted to share them because, in the beginning I started posting, and a lot of you heard this, so I'll do my best not to rehash all of it, but I'd post a soap online, and people would be very excited by it and say, how did you make that? And so I started making videos, and then eventually I realized I probably should write a book, and then I could just leverage that, so I could say, well, I have a book, and I have over 700 total blog posts and videos, which that doesn't happen overnight. And I started taking the videos down, by the way, so that I could put them back up. So hopefully they'll pop up if you've subscribed or whatever. I don't know if that'll work, but because, sometimes we get tired of seeing stuff and then we forget that it was there, and then we revisit again and go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I never did revisit that. Never did think about that deeply. So anyway, so all the videos aren't up on my YouTube channel right now, but they're systematically going to be up. So hopefully you'll be reminded of those, and then maybe inspired to make some other soap stuff. But back to the story, so I wrote the book, and then I wrote another one. I have 5 books now on soap dough and inspiration. And when I wrote the first book, I just released it as an ebook, and I did not believe anybody was going to buy it. Although I had been sharing for a while, years, in fact, and I just didn't believe anybody would buy it. And so anytime anybody asked me about it or asked me to do something, I wrote articles for magazines. I was interviewed by Brambleberry once, and I shared abundantly. I mean, all the time. I was very enthused. I spent half my time, social media-ing and sharing and asking how I can help other people and all those things. And I think that is one of my strengths, and that I want to share. And soap dough is basically open source. I prefer that you don't claim my soap recipes as your own. And it would be nice if you mentioned me when, broadcasting about the recipes. That would be really good. However, I had people say, why didn't you patent soap dough? Why didn't you this? And I just didn't see it as viable. Even though I was the first person to bring soap dough to the foreground, and in the fact that I have copywritten material stating that fact, that I just didn't think that that was a good thing to do. So, but my material is copywritten, and when you do mention it, it'd be great if you mention the process, or however you mention me, that would be great too. And it is what it is. But here's the really interesting part, is that I didn't think that I could sell any books, because I'd been writing for years and years prior to that, and I'd written a couple books prior to that as well, and I was seeking publishing through, different industries, and it's very tricky to get published. It is such a tricky thing. And in the meantime, your material is just sitting there collecting dust while you're negotiating and politicking and, trying to be the right person for the right, agency or whatever. And so I knew that wasn't the way I wanted to go, because I really wanted my book out there faster than what they were going to do. And And then interestingly enough, after I did all this hard work and I collected all these people and, talked about soap dough for years and years, and had newsletter, and, I have a mailing list, and I had followers, and I did all this. Then I had people coming to me asking to buy my business, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. It was not. I worked really hard to build this. So, but here's the really interesting part. I didn't have any expectations about that book, the very first book, an Enchanted book of peculiar ideas and soap potions. And I didn't have any expectations about it, and I crashed my website the very first weekend I made it available, which I was dumbfounded by and in deep panic over. But my husband helped me fix it, and then it grew into another website and all that. And then I have printed books, which was really hard. But it all got done. And in the last 6 months, 8 months or so, one of the things I've noticed is that my interest has waned a bit. And, it's very difficult. It's tricky, and it's even tricky talking to you, but I respect you enough, and the people that listen and watch, and that to do my best to speak what I understand to be true. And so, people notify me and things like that of people that have taken my ideas and used them and called them their own. And when that happens enough times, you can get bitter, and I don't want to be bitter by any of it. So maybe I just take a break for a bit. And, we're still offering soap dough, and I still have soaps out there right now. But I could see that my enthusiasm isn't as sincere or deep as it's been. And, gosh, I've created hundreds of stamps, soap stamps. And if you want to sign up for Notify Me, because I'm going to wait until that pool gets a bit bigger, and maybe we'll offer those again. I have a lot of unique designs of soap stamps. I have hundreds of soap stencils that are custom made for putting, stenciling soap onto a bar of soap. Stenciling soap dough onto a bar of soap, yeah. And so those are all still there, and we have lots of colors of soap dough right now. But I just didn't want to act as if I'm still super enthused right now when I'm not. So, and here's the other question too. So this is what I asked myself. What do creative people do when their whole world's built on one thing and they want to move into something else? And I don't know what other people do, but what I do is let myself be sad for a bit, which I have, and then go to some of my divination tools, pray, meditate, do all those things, and see if something comes, what shows up, and walk a lot. I've been walking a lot, and just try to clear my head so to see what direction, because we get influenced even by our own creations. And so, and one of my strengths is to do what I can with what I have, because I'm not generally a stuff person, although I've collected quite a lot of stuff for soap. This is surprising. So I have all these designs, and I've been collecting images and creating images and curating and taking photos for years and years. And so I have folders and folders of designs that I've created, or as previously stated. And I was like, well, what could I do with those? Because they're just sitting there not doing anything, and I enjoy them, but maybe other people might enjoy them too. I don't know. And so I have begun to put the ones that are the most inspirational to me without any attachment to what somebody else might think, because that's quite subjective, and try to figure out like what product they go on the best. and not think about the outcome, because there are times in my life that a well-placed image can change my whole day. It could be a print, it could be, a mug, or I just choose a t-shirt. Obviously, I'm not wearing a t-shirt today, but that's all I wear in the warm weather is t-shirts, and sometimes I wear t-shirts underneath my turtlenecks. But, most of us don't dress very fancy during the day much anymore. Depends. If you live more rurally, you definitely don't. And so I thought I would make some. So that's what I did. So I don't know, there's almost 100 designs over there, 100 different things over there at Sorcery Soap and Hocus Pocus Crafts. And I know that's a little bit startling to some people because they've just seen Sorcery Soap and they're not sure about the Hocus Pocus part. And I just needed a way to incorporate that because Sorcery Soap doesn't really incorporate crafts. And I didn't really want to call it something, pretentious like, Emporium, although I did consider it. Crafts seemed to fit me pretty well. So it has been every day, I don't know about you guys, every day getting up and seeing something else that the controllers are screwing up. And some countries fixed their financial system in 2 months. So I don't know where it's all going to go. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to create and reach out to you all and offer soap dough and do all those things that I do. And hopefully stay connected. So yeah, it's been a really weird existence. I had a lot more to say. I felt like I had a lot more to say. I wanted to tell you some things about life and philosophize a bit. But, here's the other thing I wanted to tell you too. So, running this, just because you don't have a brick and mortar store, which I don't, just because you don't, doesn't mean there aren't a million little things that you have to do. And one of the things I realized, because I've had a bunch of businesses like, in the past or whatever, and one of the things I realized is that I rarely say no, and I don't think that's a good thing. And when I do say no, people get their feathers in such a ruffle, they come at me, and I don't understand that. But probably because I say yes so often. Sure, I'll help you. Yeah, I'll do that. And what ends up happening is my plate gets really full. So the day looks like this. I have to think about a video to do every week. That's what I was doing, 2 videos a week most of the time. So I have to come up with that, and then I have to sit down and do it and edit it, which takes the lion's share of a day. So that could be 2 days out, half day spent writing a newsletter, getting that ready. Another day is spent wrapping soaps and or making soaps. And if I make soap one day, which is only a few hours, as you know, I have to design it and come up with that. And then there's pictures, and then there's cutting the soap and trimming the soap. And that isn't even counting all the soap samples that I make, which I make hundreds of soap samples. Designing cards for the soap samples, which is already done now, but that takes a little bit of time. All this stuff takes time. Taking photos. Photos can take me a day, they can take me 2 days. Doing all the labels, because I make custom labels for every one of my soaps. Let's see what else. Writing a thoughtful post for Instagram. Trying to make short videos for Instagram. Trying to make longer videos for YouTube. Trying to make thoughtful posts for the Facebook, trying to make thoughtful posts for the Facebook group that I run, interacting with people, answering questions. Let's see, what else? Shipping orders, walking to the post, because that's where I get my exercise. I walk to the post, I walk to the grocery store every day if I need either one of those things, but I definitely walk every day. Sometimes there's 3 walks involved. That doesn't even count. I mean, that's a whole overview, but that doesn't even count all the other little details that go on, and that I kept piling it on and piling it on. And so the last 6 months or so, I've just crashed. So because I felt like it was more and more and more, and it wasn't more and more satisfying. It wasn't delightful anymore. And it doesn't have to be, but it's been a delightful ride for 10 years. I mean, even when I was struggling with Illustrator, I didn't know how to do that when I wrote my first book, but I had to rewrite it and put it in Illustrator. I was like so upset. But, you know, I got down to business and figured that out and was grinding it out. And I had to learn a ton on that. And then every book I had to do that for and format, and then, you know, collect, I don't know, I have thousands of soap photos, so I have to pour over those. And I'm not complaining. I don't even want to come off like I'm complaining. I'm just saying that it has been a lot. And even though it's been a lot, and I've moved like 6 times in the last 10 years. So one of those was 1,000 miles away. So that is a big deal. And I've had great enthusiasm for soap and all the soap things that I do, and all the new ideas, and finding manufacturers to manufacture my stencils, and then stamps, and then, you know, I've had great enthusiasm. So for me to say it's been a pretty intense, delightful ride, and then when the delight and the sparkle is sort of, the shine is off of it for a minute, and I think that's just okay. And I'm just being okay with myself with it. And I don't know, there's no guarantees right now. I mean, I grew up in the 80s and some of the 90s, but mostly the late 70s and 80s, yeah. And there were lots of guarantees back then. And toward the 80s and 90s, there weren't any guarantees. Lots of people were getting laid off, and a lot of my family worked in factories, and they were getting laid off and closed and moved overseas. So, I mean, it's been, you know, there were some guarantees. Some guarantees were like, if you participated in certain events, that participation mattered and counted. That's obvious. That doesn't happen anymore. Yes, I'm choosing my words very carefully. That has changed. I can't say a lot of things that we used to say in a public discourse because I get in trouble. And as it is, I'm still getting in trouble, and I'm very careful, and I tread very lightly. And so it is changed. And I could go on at length about all the changes. But here's the big question, and my husband and I have this conversation on a regular basis. What kind of life do you want to imagine and live into? And it has never been exact. I mean, there was a time that I was reduced to a box of goods. It wasn't even that. At one point, I had one change of clothes, not my doing. I was 16. I didn't get a choice. And started out the world with, you know, one change of clothes, my work clothes, and $300 that I'd been saving up that I didn't even know if I could get access to. Anyway, that's how I started the world. And, you know, all I wanted was to not have to sleep on someone's sofa. That's really what I wanted. And didn't know where anything was going to happen, how it was going to happen. I was like, oh, I can't work for a fast food restaurant the rest of my life. This is ridiculous. And, you know, so I had 3 of those jobs just to make it all work and put myself through high school. So, you know, I don't know. I can just imagine, you know, I've imagined lots of things in my life and they haven't come to fruition. And I've imagined quietly and subtly certain things, hoped, prayed, and some of them have been turned out better than I could ever expect. And I don't really get to choose those. And people will claim, here's the other thing. Now I'm going to tell you. So I go on Instagram, right? It takes me 45 minutes to get through the ads. Super annoying. Don't want ads. I never buy from them. I don't know. If your algorithms are so freaking smart, you would know that I'm not going to buy those things. I don't care who you are. I'm not. That's why I never advertise. I will do the hard graft and, keep a newsletter going, pay for all that, and pay for a website and do all those things and reach out the best way I can. Anyway, getting off the point. So I get on Instagram and here's all these people in my feed who think they know. I don't know. I'm here to tell you I don't know, but I am commiserating with you. Commiserating, right? And letting you know that I can see it for what it is. Don't have the answers. Doing the best I can. Giving it a lot of, gauging the situation. It's sort of like if you're out in the ocean and somebody's with you and you're like, how do we navigate these sharks? How do we keep treading water? And the guy next to you goes, well, just do it this way. This is the way you do it. This is the way you do it. And you're like, yeah, you're an expert. You've been in a shipwreck before. So anyway, all these people saying that they're experts and I go through, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. And I'm like, dude, you could say it with as much confidence as you want, but I already got your number. I know how to do a lot of stuff and I still don't know how to do it. I would rather invite you. I'll invite you how I did it or how other people did it or give you examples. That's how I wrote my books is like, I don't know the 100% way. This is the way I did it. Use this as an example and now go do it yourself. That's what a good cookbook is. That's what a good cookbook is. This is how I did it. And if you vary from that, it doesn't make it bad or wrong or whatever. It means, you tweak it a little bit. You like it sweeter, you like it more savory, you like it this way. I don't know. It's frustrating because that's not life at all. Social media isn't life at all. You're only getting a little version of my world, a little version that I share with you. But this is, I can't be super honest with you, like deep in the way that I could tell you, some of the stuff that I've seen or the world, the matrix, the algorithms, they don't like that. It doesn't like that anymore. It wants you to present this fake thing. And I'm not doing that. That's the other reason why it's sort of booting me out of that world. It's my spiritual belief, no fact, it's my spiritual belief that the more authentic you are, the more sincere you are, without an agenda, that it sort of spits you out. But that's not just on social media and just online. That's life. That's how I ended up with one change of clothes. Because I stood up and said, that's not true. What situation was going on in my household. I said, that's not true. Which is a huge lesson. And I need to think on that. Anyway, I'll think on that. But this is what I want to say. More than anything, I want you to know that I'm here. And if you have any questions about soap, I'm super happy to answer that. If you have any questions about stuff, spirituality and stuff, I'm super happy to try and help. But at least you'll have somebody to talk to, and I can do that. And I'm not taking on more because I've kind of gotten rid of a lot of things that, like tasks that I have been doing. So I'm a little bit more freed up. So I'm not taking on more than I need. I'm working at saying no, working at saying no. I'm working at doing nothing. That's hard. It's super, super hard. I'm working at trying to be an invitation versus an authority. And allowing this new phase in my life to just unfold like spring unfolds, like things grow. They just grow and change. And the seed is not the plant and those kind of things, although they look similar. I mean, have the same kind of thing. Anyway, and I'm working at adapting a bit, not to untrue things, but adapting to how I see the world. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I have a book coming. Maybe there'll be a book. Maybe because it kind of feels that way, like that precursor, like I'm germinating something that I don't quite know. And in the meantime, I do some busy work, and you know, and all my products are so fun. I'm so excited. So that's not exactly, that's like productive busy work. And I know we don't need more stuff necessarily, but everybody needs another coffee cup. Anyway, and a nice print. Prints are good, I think. And greeting cards, inexpensive way to put a piece of art on the wall. So, but just a little plug for my thing that I'm doing, and maybe you could peek over there and tell me which ones you like the best, or which ones tickle your fancy. I could get banned in certain areas probably, just saying it like that. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. I'm not going to run this on too long, but I hope you're having a great day, and thank you for being here. I really appreciate it, and that's all I know for right now. So keep being magical. Okay, bye.